Good morning, Kwejeba, Chimigwech, Gdinamumakane Gibijayek. My name is Wanda Tusky. I'll be your MC this morning. I'm from the Algonquins of Barrier Lake First Nation, 3 hours north from here. Like to acknowledge our elders that are here this morning, invited delegates, our residential school survivors, our leaders, and of course, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, alongside our beautiful delegation here today. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which you are gathered this morning is the unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation. Today, we will once again witness the raising of the survivors' flag on Parliament Hill. This commemorative flag was created by survivors to honor all survivors, their families, their communities, and the impacts by the residential school system here in Canada, and to share their expression of remembrance. So Chimigwech, for you all to join us in this special, important event. Please know as well that we have health supports on site today for those who may need it. This includes health support workers from local Indigenous partner organizations who are wearing blue vests. Can I ask all health supports to stand and raise your hands? Thank you. Over the next hour, we will hear from honored survivors, Elder Claudette Commanda, Stephanie Scott, Executive Director of the NSTR, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and Her Excellency, the Governor General Mary Simon. I now have the honor of inviting Elder Claudette Commanda from Kitigan-Zibi Anishinaabe to the stage to join me, and please, let's welcome her. Miigwech. So you're here now.
Kwejeba. Bonjour tout le monde. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. We're all so happy today, are we not? It is a beautiful day. Today we celebrate the summer solstice. And we all know as Indigenous peoples how important the solstices are to us. It's a time that we gather and we give thanks to the Creator and all our ancestors for the responsibility that they have given us to celebrate life, to celebrate our ancestors, and to celebrate who we are as the first peoples of the land. Today, June 21st, is also a day to commemorate, to honor, to remember, and to celebrate the survival and the resistance and the resilience of Indian residential school survivors, and how we as community members come out to honor the survivors. Today is a beautiful day because Canada is celebrating National Indigenous Day to celebrate the values and the contributions and the beauty of Indigenous peoples, First Nations, Inuit, Métis. And what a beautiful contribution that we have made to this country since time immemorial. And we will continue to share. I begin by first to acknowledge, and I'm sure that each and every one of you will feel the same as I feel. We gather here today for the special ceremony to raise this flag in honor of Indian residential school survivors, whether they are First Nations, Inuit, or Métis. And we all know that that policy of Indian residential schools was about taking the Indian out of the child. They were all children. But walking in or onto the stage, the beauty of the drum that sang that powerful song that the Creator blessed our people with, but to see the child dance, the child that was dancing. So let's give honor and let's thank that young boy for sharing his dance to honor the residential school survivors, to honor the ancestors, to honor all our communities. So chi miigwej odashken, miigwej jonje kin miigwej. It's always about the children, always about the children, always. To the survivors of Indian residential schools, to the elders, to the leaders, Her Excellency Governor General Mary Simon, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and all who are here to gather. Chimigwej kibija yego ma. Pijajiko ma nishnabe ki o mama weneniwag. As my relative Wanda Tusky, she welcomed you into our homeland as the Algonquin people. You are all welcome here. We gather on this sacred site that we, the Algonquin people, held since time immemorial. It remains unceded, unsurrendered, but we always welcome everyone. Brothers and sisters from the various nations, Indigenous peoples, all Canadians, all visitors, no matter where you come from. So welcome. And I know that the survivors, with their heart and soul and love, they welcome you too. Because today is a time that we gather, and we must remember that not just June 21st or September 30th to remember the survivors of residential schools. We must always remember and honor and love and respect every day the survivors. Let us remember all those survivors who are not with us here today. Let us remember the children who did not make it home. Let us remember all the survivors who are here today as well. And let us remember the children that remain in those graves. And this chair that's placed here is part of this prayer. It's part of this remembrance. It symbolizes all those children who did not make it home. It symbolizes the children who are yet to be found. It symbolizes also to you, the survivors, for your strength, your endurance, your patience, and your love. We ask the Creator to bless this day, and we give thanks to the Creator as we say to Him, Miigwej gishimanado, miigwej kinakeego. We thank the Creator for all of His blessings. We come together with that one heart, one spirit, and that one voice. And we thank the Creator for His love. And we thank our grandfather, the Son, for being kind to us. He brings us His light, His warmth. We give Him that thanks as we say, Miigwej, mishomis kizis. We thank our ancestors. We thank all our ancestors. And we ask the Creator to continue to bless us with love and to show that kindness and respect to one another. And we gather here today to honor the survivors. But let's remember that all our survivors are all our community members. They are our brothers and sisters, our mothers and fathers, our grandmothers and grandfathers, our aunties and uncles, and our friends. And to you, all of Canada, we welcome you into our circle of prayer. We welcome you into our circle of healing. And let's walk this road together with kindness and with love. And just remember, hope is free, and love is the greatest gift that we can give to one another. For our children truly deserve love forever. And let's honor all our survivors as who they were and as children, and who they are today as our elders. Thank you. I love you. Miigwech. And at this time, I'd like to call up another relative, Stephanie Peltze, who will bless us with a water ceremony. Stephanie? Miigwech. Yes, that's good.
Bojo Nindawe Manadok, Nuijua ke Queen Dijnikas, Wawash Geshindo Dem, Nijo Mede Queen Dao, Wequim Kung Donjaba. Chimigwech for inviting me here today, and Chimigwech for including Nebe, our water, in our ceremony today. It's because without this water, none of you would be here today. My heart is heavy as I've been carrying a lot, and it's in regards to the waters. And my daughter does a lot of work with the water, and the work that she does, you know, I hear the message first, and sometimes it takes time for her to understand what adults are thinking and leadership are thinking, so I have to interpret the water, the message for her, so she can speak for the water. So I'm going to offer up some words in my language, and one of the reasons we're here today is because of the Indian Residential School. So Gainjida Anikaznan Jaganashim. The school took my talk, and I'm slowly learning my language back. The more I do ceremony, the more I'm doing the work that I'm meant to do, the language is coming back, and it feels like there's a wall there. It's stuck, and my spirit is trying to pierce through that wall. And when I'm in meetings or I'm with people, the first thoughts are in the Anishinaabe. When I hear it's stuck back here, and what I want to say, it doesn't come out in the language, it comes out in English. And I was heavy this morning thinking about that and thinking about the survivors. My parents are survivors, and I'm an intergenerational survivor and an Indian day school survivor, and those impacts, I feel those impacts as well, not to the extent of the survivors, but I have my own journey. And all of us intergenerational survivors are the ones who are going to carry on this role and these ceremonies and learn our language and bring our people back together. So I'm going to offer up those words in Anishinaabe Mwin. Keen nagdo windamonda nangom manda gishigat. Agi mino going manda sa bemadzuing. Mabasa gadogi mina minwa manda nibbe. Minwa maba shkakamekwe. Kina ode newiing endadmuk. Ode kitch ishbiming. Binishko mampi a king. Nagdowin moda manda nebe bimirjigoding. Miigwech. Miigwech.
Chimigwech, again, Anan Claudette, Mamidish Stephanie Gibija, Chuma, Jiban Matagzioch. Like to just give thanks to our sisters, Claudette and Stephanie, for sharing those beautiful words and ceremony with us all, and to be able to be part of something very special, important to today's event. So, miigwech for that. Midashajik jagwej maikaya, which gemnan Frank Cody. Frank Cody, Kitagon ZB, Biodase. And nextly, we'd like to invite our brother here, our honored survivor, Frank Cody from Kitagon ZB, who also experienced the residential school era. I'd like to invite him now to come forward and say a few words as our survivor. Miigwech Frank.
Chimigwetsa, Wanda. Chimigwech, Gigwech Miko, and one say no go jam tagzoan. Gigwech ma, Jimmy do coach. And in my get Kidiamba. Good day, Abiton, you know. Gagane, I'm just in Sutari. I speak my language. And I was mentioning that I talked to the Creator last night, made prayer, and asked him, what do I say? Because I'm not a public speaking person. Well, he gave me a sign. He said, speak from the heart. That's the best place you could do. I have 6 siblings that went to residential school, and they're sitting here supporting me. And I'd like to invite all the residential school survivors and all the nations that came to our Anishinaabe territory today, far and near. And also Mr. Trudeau, representing the Canadian people. As a visitor to this country, you're very welcome. That wasn't a joke, that was serious. But this is an honor to be speaking up here to talk about the survivors and raising of the flag. Our people, our nations, in our community, our language is spoken. It is not written on the generations to come. And I'd like to remind the people to continue passing the message to our younger generation so it's never forgotten what has happened in this country, the history. Our history will continue verbally, and Canada also has a history. Theirs is a written language. That will keep it alive, and we must never forget what happened to us. We always knew, the survivors always knew what happened, and they've always talked about it. The only time it came out when the 215 children that were found, they woke up the world and they came alive. They said it's time to continue. They will be finding more and more children. We've been saying that as survivors, we've been talking about that a long time, but nobody believed us until those 215 children that were found. Those children are traveling with their ancestors. They're being taken care of, but we must never forget them, since they are part of us. Miigwech Ajingatkit, Chimamanindaman, Kajibejewebak. So that's something that we, as people of this country, and also our visitors, have to work together. We could see it, what's happening today, as Mother Earth is crying for help. It is up to us, the people of the world, to do something, or we will all perish if we don't act. Miigwech.
To Miigwech, for your words, the important lessons, the experiences, something that we certainly must continue to carry in our journey together, in our pathway together. Miigwech. I would now invite honored survivor Laurie McDonald to speak with us. Laurie is a Two-Spirit elder and residential school survivor from the Enoch Cree Nation. Please, let's give Elder Laurie a warm welcome.
Hi, Semanito. Hi, no komen nimusin. Nia, nehiawin akida maskego sick. Good morning. I thank the Creator today for bringing us to this beautiful territory. I thank the grandmothers and grandfathers for allowing me to be here today. I say today, 4 years ago, I apologize for my immobility, but 4 years ago, I could out-jig any Métis person in this room. I would like to acknowledge the Algonquin Nation whose territory we are here, as well as the elders and our fellow survivors. I am thankful today also to stand here on National Aboriginal Day. As we raise the survivors' flag today for the second time, I am thinking about the long journey we have all been on. And the reason we do this is to ensure that all the stories that we as survivors have been saying will be heard. My story is out there and it's for everyone to know. I make it available because what happened to us is real. It is our truth. This flag, which honors all the survivors, families, and communities were impacted by the residential school system, is a symbol of how far we have come and how far we have yet to go. National Indigenous Peoples Day is a time to reflect on the truth about residential schools. I am a survivor of the Ermineskin Indian Residential School in Musqueam, which is located in north central Alberta. My journey there, like many, are stories we've put in the backsack and we did not want to talk about it. So I say to you here today, next time you see someone who you may think is just a drunken Indian who is just downtrodden, remember, this person has a story. Take the time to listen to him. Like me, it took a long time for me to go that full circle and to speak about what happened in those schools. Because I said to myself, whatever happened to me, I will one day tell my truth. And one day, someone is going to hear what happened to me. And I continue this journey till the Creator calls me home. As the years come, we know there will be fewer survivors like me to stand in front. And we must listen as those, while that person is out there who you may think has no story, take time to listen to them and take time just to acknowledge. Our voices are strong and we will not be silenced. We can preserve our truths to build a strong future for the generations to come. For this I say to all of you, hi hi. I thank the Creator once again, and I thank the grandmothers and grandfathers for allowing me to be here one more time. Hi hi. Se manito.
Miigwech, Elder Lori, for reminding us how important it is to continue to hear our survivors. Miigwech. Next, I am honored to invite Elder Navalik Taloganak to speak. Elder Novalak is a proud Inuit from Cambridge Bay, Nunavut. Please help me to welcome her. Miigwech.
Way down. Okay. Ulakut Meli, Prime Minister Trudeau, Ilan Nuatka, Katimavut. Good morning. Ulakut Inuin na yung nga ekaluktu tiamin, Nunavun me. First of all, I wish to say, this is for you to my grandson Felix, my grandson Alexis, my daughter Kim. And big hello and special greetings to my community, hometown community of Cambridge Bay, Nunavut. Hello, everybody. Here's my speech I'm supposed to. Hello, my name is Navalik Tulugangnak. I am a proud Inuinak and member of the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation's Survivor Circle. I will begin by acknowledging the elders and knowledge keepers who guide us, the leaders joining us today, and all the survivors whose truths, experiences, and hopes for the future we have gathered to honor. Residential schools attempted to take away our languages, our identities, and our very selves. Ufagudlu inuinay, nadvak pagtayt kavamakut, imani, kangakaluk, tiguyaw yugudlo, kihimi, kihani, ufagud tamapta. Inuad linyak tugut pitiak tao yumak tugut lo. Hivud livut. Munak tachigut. Forever and ever. Yet we are still here, strong Indigenous peoples who are building futures alongside our communities for future generations. I'm proud to gather once again to honor the re-raising of the survivors' flag on National Indigenous Peoples Day. I had the honor of helping create the survivors' flag. It represents all the young lives that Canada wanted to discard and forget. It represents our truth, our strength, and our determination. Today we remember the past and see this flag as a symbolic commitment towards a better future that is built on witnessing the truths of survivors. It has taken many years for Canada to acknowledge these truths. And it is due to the courage and determination of survivors, their families, and our communities that we are here today on Parliament Hill. It is critical for survivors to be listened to, for their experiences to be incorporated into the nation's collective conscious, and to remember those who were not able to voice their truths. It is only in doing so that we can continue to walk the path of reconciliation. Kona.
Beautifully done. Miigwech Elder Navlik, so beautiful to hear your language, hear your culture, see your culture. Miigwech. We will now hear from another honored survivor. The next invited guest is a member of the NCTR's governing circle and is also a day school survivor. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Andrew Carrier at the podium. Congrats.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Andrew Carrier. As mentioned, I'm the member of the National Centre for Truth and Reconciliation, and a very proud member of the Red River Métis. I wear my sash proudly, as you see before you, and it's nice to see among the crowd the Red River sash being worn by our women and our men. But it's also an indication of the pride that we must feel as an Indigenous person. Because here in Canada, for generations, we were made to feel ashamed of our roots. And I speak to you in English. I do speak French. Je premier reconnaître que le Premier Ministre, merci Justin Trudeau, Mary Simon pour tout votre travail. Mais je parle pas ma langue maternelle, Michif. We did not learn our language at school. Like our relatives, our First Nation relatives, we're ashamed and to speak the proper French. And I lost my notes. The gods must be with me on this one. It is always an honor to be here as a survivor of a day school. And I'm going to go off my speech a little bit, but just imagine at 7 years old being molested by a priest. The shame, and to survive that. I cannot imagine the daily abuse that our First Nations relatives survive, the abuse on a daily basis, day and night. I got to go home. However, the abuse continued during the days as they did during the night, looking at victims, children who want to be loved. I want to thank the Algonquin Anishinaabe people for inviting us and letting us be here today. As mentioned, we are guests here. The Red River Métis, we formed our own communities back in the early 1800s, prior to Confederation. I am proud to see our Métis flag, the infinity flag up above, which came out in a war against the English in 1816, way beyond the formation of Canada. Yes, we are proud to be Indigenous. The Red River Métis, we had our territory was grand and wide, from the northwest borders of Ontario down to North Dakota and along the northern states, all the way to the mountains of Alberta and BC. We are truly nomadic. We are all over the world today, but we need to be proud of our language and our culture. Today, we are all witness in the re-raising of the survivors' flag over colonial buildings, where for many years lawmakers are now listening to our truth and seeking to work together towards reconciliation. We can't forget Sir John A. Macdonald, whose objective was to get rid of the Indigenous people, to kill us, to hunt us down like animals, because they thought that we had no heart, we had no culture. But we survived. It is no secret that the truth must come before reconciliation. And on this National Indigenous Peoples Day, I encourage all of us to take time to reflect on the truth that thousands of survivors lived through and the impact still felt today. I want to honor the truth held by thousands of children who never came home from residential schools or from day schools, as that matter. Let us not forget about the little ones as a father, mother, grandfather, grandmother, aunts and uncles. We must protect our children. As a matter of fact, that's what I told Pope Francis in last April, that the church has to do a better job in protecting our children from the hands of the people that harmed us. The survivors' flag symbolizes the hope of commitment that governments, churches, and people across Canada will continue to acknowledge these truths. Even today, there are some saying that it never happened. We must honor the children, continue to build on the promises of reconciliation. The re-raising of the flag today marks another important milestone that signifies the ongoing commitments of survivors and the ways that our truth have ignited a change in mindsets for many Canadians. For me personally, the raising of this flag is the raise of the spirits of the Métis children and the First Nation children and the Inuit children that never came home. However, it is also a reminder that a great deal of work remains on this journey of reconciliation. My hope is for us to continue to walk this path together in harmony. It's a bumpy path for sure, but we must try. For the name of all our children. Amen. Merci.
Miigwech Andrew, for your passionate remarks on supporting the reconciliation efforts, and Miigwech for sharing, close matters to your heart that has affected you and your people as well. Miigwech. Moving along, I'd now like to invite the Executive Director at the National Center of the Truth and Reconciliation to say a few words. Please help join me to welcome Stephanie Scott. Miigwech.
Hello, good morning. It's really good to see so many people here. I think we've doubled in size since last year, so miigwech for being here. Buju, Miskwa Nakwarakwe Indigenous Wabashishi Dodem. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that I am speaking to you not from my home of Treaty 1 territory, but on the unceded lands of the Algonquin people. My family is from Roseau River Anishinaabe First Nation, and I am of the Martin clan. I am the daughter of a residential school survivor and a 60 scoop survivor. I was the next generation that was taken away at birth. Elder Commanda, miigwech for welcoming us to the unceded and unsurrendered territory of the Algonquin people, and for your prayers and always joining us. I also want to acknowledge the Eagle River Singers for the drum and Stephanie Pelche for the water ceremony. These are the very songs and ceremonies that the residential schools tried and failed to take away. Frank, Lori, Navalik, and Andrew, miigwech, for the gift of your powerful words. We wouldn't be here today if it weren't for the courage and determination of all First Nation, Inuit, and Métis survivors. We truly honor all of your voices. Finally, I would like to thank all leadership and dignitaries, the Governor General, Prime Minister Trudeau, for your ongoing commitment that this flag should continue to fly over Parliament Hill. The survivors tell me that this flag should continue to fly here forever and to be a daily reminder for the members of Parliament, senators, and to all who visit this land for the hard work that still needs to come. We know that there are too many people today who deny the reality of our shared history and the fact that thousands of children died in Indian residential schools, and this must stop. We must focus on the truth. The federal government has identified and will continue to provide millions and millions of records to the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation. Records that we did not previously hold. Within those records, we will reveal more facts, more truths, more loss, and help people further understand the harms that were inflicted on our children. Those children who died in those institutions, who were survivors of those institutions. We must all fight denialism, and we must continue to honor all survivors and their families as we continue the journey of truth and reconciliation. We must never forget what happened, and we must remember each time we pass the survivor's flag that we will never give up. Miigwech, and thank you for being here today. I'd like to now welcome the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, to say a few words. Miigwech.
Bonjour tout le monde. Je veux évidemment commencer en remerciant l'aîné Commanda pour ta présence, ton leadership et ta bienvenue sur ce territoire. Stéphanie Pelletier, Stephanie Scott, Wanda Thuskey et les Eagle River Singers. Thank you so much for starting us off so well. Aux survivants et aînés, merci pour vos paroles, pour vos témoignages, de nous centrer sur le passé, mais aussi le présent et l'avenir qu'on bâtit ensemble. Aux aînés, aux membres de leur famille, à tous ceux qui sont parmi nous, merci d'être des nôtres. Merci de partager vos histoires. Je veux évidemment saluer la gouverneure générale Mary Simon. Mary, ton leadership, ta présence, ta compassion est touchante pour nous tous et on te remercie profondément pour tout ce que tu fais. I also want to acknowledge all the other leaders who are gathered here today. Many senators, many ministers, many MPs from different parties, Indigenous leaders like National Chief Representative Archibald, thank you for being here. Thank you all for gathering on this important morning where we recognize the past and grieve together. We also celebrate, as was said, Indigenous peoples are still here and strong and vibrant in their language, their culture, and everything they have to offer. Not just this land, but all of us who share this. I want to acknowledge as well that we are on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation. Today we're gathered here in ceremony for the changing and raising of the survivors' flag together, something I committed to doing last summer when we first raised this important symbol here on Parliament Hill. Today and every day, we remember and honor the survivors, the children that never returned home, and all the lives impacted by the residential school system. Avec la découverte de sépultures anonymes à travers le pays, bien des douleurs ont refait surface. Every time I meet with survivors and impacted families and communities, I am humbled and inspired by your courage, your resilience. We will continue to listen and be there for you. We will continue making sure families and survivors have access to trauma-informed and culturally appropriate services to support their mental health and well-being as they grieve, as they remember, and as they heal. And just yesterday, many of us gathered on Parliament Hill, the other side of this building, to announce the location where the residential school's national monument will be constructed. This work will be guided by survivors and knowledge keepers and will serve as a reminder, yes, but also as a place to grieve, heal, and learn together. Les pensionnats avaient pour but d'assimiler les enfants autochtones en les forçant à abandonner leur langue, leur culture et leurs identités. Aujourd'hui, c'est le solstice d'été. On hisse le drapeau des survivants, mais on célèbre aussi la journée nationale des peuples autochtones. Last year, one of the requests made to me was to make sure that we changed this flag at the turning of every season. So we gather here at the solstice to refresh, to remember, to recommit ourselves to the hard work of reconciliation. Today, on National Indigenous Peoples Day, we don't just remember, we also celebrate Indigenous cultures across Canada. Every day, I see Indigenous peoples stepping up in extraordinary ways to shape not just the future of their communities or of their nations, but of this country. But as I point out, reconciliation is not only the responsibility of Indigenous peoples, it is the responsibility of every single Canadian. Because while residential schools were trying to teach Indigenous peoples that their language had no value, that their cultures had no value, that their identity had no value, every other school in Canada was teaching non-Indigenous kids the same thing, that Indigenous languages, culture, and people had no value. So we all have work to do in our hearts and in our systems, in the institutions and structures we built up as a country based on terribly wrong beliefs, and understanding. And the more, over the coming years, we open ourselves to acknowledging that wrong, that mistake, that devalued people who've lived here from time immemorial, who understand what it is to care for land, to respect the Creator, to be open and welcoming, not just to settlers, but to anyone. These are the things we're struggling as a modern society to learn, to change in our ways, to shift from short-term thinking as societies to understanding the responsibility we have, that we don't inherit the world from our parents, but that we borrow it from our grandchildren. To understand that caring for the land and waters and bounty that nature offers us is a responsibility that goes beyond our immediate time in the present. These are shifts that societies around the world, but certainly Western societies, are struggling with right now. And we have answers if we open ourselves and our country and our institutions to the wisdom and the knowledge that has been here for millennia already, to share with us as we celebrate, as we recognize, and as we learn the future that we can and must be building together. Ensemble, continuons de rendre hommage aux survivants, de nous souvenir des enfants qui ne sont jamais rentrés chez eux et de dire la vérité au sujet de notre passé. Mais disons-nous les vraies choses aussi sur notre présent et notre avenir. Recognizing the terrible mistakes our country made in the past is not just about feeling guilty or trying to atone for past mistakes. It's also about learning from them and committing ourselves to thinking differently and better about how we act today towards each other and how we act tomorrow towards those future generations. So let us continue to work together as partners, to learn from each other, and to see the wonderful differences that characterize the people of this country as an incredible strength, not a weakness, as an opportunity to continue to grow and build a stronger future for everyone. Merci, thank you, Miigwech, Kuyamnamik, Nakumik, Kinanaskomitana, Masicho, Gela Kasla. Merci.
On remercie Stéphanie et le Premier ministre Trudeau d'avoir partagé des mots très importants pour notre événement aujourd'hui. We also look forward to seeing together the next steps on the journey to reconciliation. Now I would like to ask the Prime Minister to assist our survivors in the raising of the flag. We would be honored as well if Her Excellency, the Governor General, Mary Simon, if you would serve as our witness. Yep.
Just explain. These are flags that have flown on this Parliament Hill over the past number of months, over the past year. I want to present one to each of the survivors who have shared their testimonies and their witnessing here today.
Andy? How about another round for Odeshkin and Eagle River Singers? Oh, miigwech. It is now our pleasure to introduce Her Excellency, the Governor General Mary Simon, to the podium with us today. Miigwech.
Good morning. Bonjour. Tungasawitsi ilumnasi. Premier Minister, Prime Minister, elders, survivors, Indigenous leaders, dignitaries, and distinguished guests. Before we begin, I would also like to acknowledge on this very important day that we are gathered on the unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people who have lived and cared for this land for thousands of years. National Indigenous Day, Peoples' Day, is a celebration for all Indigenous peoples, First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. It is a day to celebrate Indigenous culture, languages, identities, and contributions to Canada. It is a day to celebrate all of our stories. Aujourd'hui, nous célébrons les histoires autochtones. Nous célébrons notre culture et notre contribution au Canada. In celebrating those stories, we must also take a moment to recognize the challenges, the hardships, and trauma of those who were denied these very things, denied their culture and identities, denied the recognition of their value and contributions to our country. Some, like the children who never made it home from residential schools, were denied the right to life itself. Raising this flag today, on a day of celebration, acknowledges that life is filled with joy and sorrow. La levée du drapeau en cette journée de célébration est une reconnaissance que la vie est un ensemble de moments de joie et de tristesse. And while today we celebrate progress in reconciliation and the joy inherent in Indigenous culture, we do so in the shadow of the memory of children who died and suffered in residential schools and the intergenerational trauma their families and communities continue to experience. Canada will never forget as it looks to build a future where we are all celebrated and all our stories are valued. Have a wonderful day and thank you. Merci, miigwech, nakurmik, huyanamik.
Miigwech, merci, thank you, Your Excellency. Ceci maintenant met fin à notre cérémonie aujourd'hui. This now comes to an end for our ceremony today. I would like to thank all who have joined us from across the lands, from Anishinaabe territory. I'd like to bring recognition and honorable mention to our Algonquin-Zaberya Lake Chief Casey Ratt, and our elders from our community, as well elders from Kitigan-Zibi, their families, as well as people from the Atikamek, the Innu Nation, our brothers and sisters, as well those from the Cree Nation, and those from across Turtle Island. Chimigwech for joining us, and for those joining us from home as well in spirit. Maintenant, j'aimerais inviter, I would now like to bring forward and invite elder and survivor Jimmy Desrochers to join me at the podium to deliver the closing prayer.
Thank you so very much. I want to thank Elder, first of all, Claudette Commanda, for her work that she did when we asked the Algonquin people to help us, proceed with this project that we had in mind. And we knew that Eugene Arcand and I, Big Bird they call him, he's a friend of mine, we knew that we had to make sure the Algonquin people were part of this thing. And so I want to thank each and every one of them for allowing us to be here and to do what we need to do. And I want to acknowledge, of course, the Governor General, Mary Simon. Thank you so very much for being here. And I really, really appreciate what you had to say. So thank you so very much. And I also want to acknowledge the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister has been here in each and every one of this journey that we're on. And, when he spoke today, I was really paying attention and really listening because he meant every word that he said, and I want to thank him for that as well. And I want to thank Wanda Tursky. That's a tough job that you did, young lady. So thank you. Thank you so very, very much. Let's give her a nice round of applause. And of course, I want to acknowledge Roseanne Archibald, Chief of the AFN. I think she was somewhere over there. Thank you very much for being here. And Frankie Cote, who is representing Chief White Duck, I think, was here. And Savannah, a friend of mine, Savannah McGregor from the Algonquin Grand Chief. There she is right there. So thank you so very much. And, she welcomes me every time I go to Kitigan CB, they call it, eh? But I call it Kistagan CP. So it's just about the same. But it's, I want to thank you so very much. And of course, the Eagle River Drummers, I always thank them because they are just absolutely wonderful people. And they did such a tremendous job today. Thank you very, very much. And of course, the reason why we're here is to remember those children that never made it home. And I was so proud today when I saw that young fella just dance the way that he did. Those are the things that many of those young people that never made it home would have been doing. So thank you, young man. I really appreciate thank you. So now with the closing prayer, my name is Jim DeRocher, in case some of you haven't met before. I'm from Mile Lacrosse, Saskatchewan, and I'm a Métis, Red River Métis, and I'm a veteran of Royal Canadian Air Force many, many years ago. And I'm also a 10-year survivor. 10 years I was in there. And as a day school survivor. Igual ano suma quais de miuhtin kapituhti ano suma kapiwi tapmia huta. Igo himio gisagak. Marsita gitayak mantum no. Igo himio asago magisaga wakamigo yak. Igo an me wan nuhti marsi nuhti tao igo kami asini igo maski agimigo yak. Igo asi ois psiski sa gitagawi gitsagoma. Igo witse mami nagami usit mantu, tawichi higoyak, takanachi tayak taskino, igatam swarachi tayak. Igo witse mami nagami usit mantu, tawichi hati yawishan he sino, iganan to gaya chek tawigitsek. Igo wats chek, inohti hati chek, igo isik sit chekasta. Igo witse mami nagami usit mantu, tawichi hatan he, awasa, kagim skachek, yaho chek. Mucho mischete sinuata igiwi tahiwan makiteak. Iwan muy mucho stapu tagawaya. Como marsimi nangai tau kami usit mantu. Ya usho magiano tawichi higoya mama we. Tanis to mama we toskia. Kipsi se pogas kitano. Ki weta tatuskata bakwa wata tawichi hitoya. I want to thank the Creator, for her beautiful creation, the land, the water, the sky, and all the creatures that live in it. But we're not doing a very good job as well. I want to confess to the Creator, we are not doing a very good job in keeping her beautiful creation in the way that she made it. You know, we are spending too much time making too much money for the sake and you know, not paying attention to the damage that we're doing to her creation, the forest, the water, and the sky. So we need to do a better job. We need to be conscious of that. And we need to, and you know, people wonder, why is there so many storms? You know, things that are not natural. They're never used to happen before. Well, that's why, because we're not taking care of the land, the creation that was given to us. And I want to ask her as well, I've always wanted to ask her, to bless the homeless people. There are many homeless people in our cities, and I want to especially ask the Creator to bless the veterans, some of the veterans, my comrades that are out there that are homeless. They're scared, they're hungry, and they're cold. You know, this is the reality that we live in today, and we need to be conscious of it and do something about it. I want to ask her to bless the survivors that are here. I want her to, and I say her because I was raised by my grandmother. My grandmother told me the Creator was a woman. And that was the first run-in I had with the church. So I wanted you to know that. So I want to ask her to bless and guide all of us on the task that's before us. And, you know, the raising of the flag, you know, I really, really appreciate that, because it is our duty and our job, each and every one of us here, to make sure to tell our story to the world. You know, we will never have reconciliation unless we tell our story to the world, and we need to tell the truth. Don't be afraid to tell the truth. So with that, I want to thank each and every one of you for listening to me, and I want to thank the survivors that are here. We got a job to do. It has not finished, and we're not done. We've got a long ways to go. Thank you so very, very much.
So now this ends our event. Refreshments are provided here to participants, to guests at the nearest hospitality tent. Media availability for participants following the event. Elders will take questions first, followed by government officials and other participants. Miigwech, merci. Thank you.